But this is Eric Pearson. He's been always really good to us, always answered. Chuck had a closer relationship. I'm developing that with Eric, but he's always been there to answer all our questions. But he's been nice enough. He got us a food truck, some good food, and he was here to talk a little and then answer any sort of questions anybody might have about workers' comp, because as anybody on the U-board can attest, there's always a lot of questions about workers' comp.
Well, thanks, Sean. So now that everyone's tired from eating and just in this weather wants to go home and sit on the sofa and watch TV, I've condensed the information tonight so that we can get through this pretty quickly. But thanks again for having me. There's really 4 topics or 4 subjects that I wanted to just quickly go over that I think are important, especially to your local. And those are which jurisdiction you can bring your claim in, what's your first responsibility if you're hurt while working, who you have to treat with, and then what benefits you can get. And I typically always start with what your first obligation is, and I ask a question, would anyone even know what to do if they were hurt or a coworker was hurt or anything? But I think with your local, we're going to start with the jurisdiction because you're a little bit different than many of the other locals out there in that you are constantly over jurisdiction lines, right? You're always in PA, Jersey. You're hired technically and legally out of New Jersey, but because you venture into PA, the minute you cross that line on the bridge, PA, if you have an incident, covers your claim. And why that's important is because you now, because this is a benefit, believe it or not, from being employed in Jersey and always in PA, the minute you're hurt in PA, you have that claim there possible, but we look to see which side of the bridge maximizes your claim, because there's pros and cons to both sides. In Pennsylvania, and we're going to start with now what your responsibility is. Your responsibility is very simple. When there's an incident, you have to notify your supervisor, period. And I know that this goes on deaf ears a lot, but I tell you, you should document every incident, because what you think isn't something important or is just going to go away has a habit of coming back. And the one thing that a lawyer can't help with a workers' comp claim is if you miss that notice to your supervisor. It used to be, I would say, just tell them in passing. But now, I've seen so many supervisors say, that person didn't tell me. They didn't tell me. I didn't, no, they got hurt playing, golf or bowling the other weekend. I took text, email, written incident report, something. Now, under the law, you have a certain amount of time on both sides. In New Jersey, you have 90 days to report your incident. No matter what your employer says, the law gives you 90 days. On the PA side, you get a little bit more, and you get 120 days. And again, you hear it all the time. My employer told me I didn't report it within the first 24 hours, the first 48 hours. They're denying my claim. That doesn't fly once they get in front of a judge. Because legally, PA 120, New Jersey 90. Okay, end of story. Let's talk about who you have to treat with, because that is a big difference in PA, New Jersey. In New Jersey, you have to treat with their doctors, the insurance company doctors, period. You do not have a right to go outside of it unless you want to use your health insurance and pay your co-pays and your deductibles. On the PA side, 90 days is the longest that they can keep you with their doctors. There are certain boxes they even have to check off to even make it that you have to stay with their doctors, and I don't think that DRPA does that every time, that you probably can treat with whoever you want from the get-go, but the longest under PA law is 90 days. That is a huge benefit as compared to New Jersey, because you need a doctor who's going to listen to you, not be influenced by the insurance company, right? So that's who, after 90 days in PA, you can go to anyone in Jersey, you can go to anyone in PA, whoever will accept workers' comp insurance, that's who you can go to, okay? Now, there are certain benefits on each side, and this is where investigating and determining which state is best comes into play. In Pennsylvania, there's 2 benefits and a possible 3rd benefit for your local. Medical is paid 0 cost in PA to you. 0 co-payments, 0 out of pocket, 0 balance. It's not like health insurance. They have to pay 100%, okay? There's a wage loss benefit, and this is the biggest difference between New Jersey and PA besides who you have to treat with. Pennsylvania is what we call a wage loss state, whereas New Jersey is a permanency impairment or an impairment state. In Pennsylvania, you can receive wage loss benefits for as long as you have a wage loss. If you go back light duty and you can't do overtime and you're not making what you used to, you're still entitled to a wage loss check because again, in Pennsylvania, it's all about wage loss. In New Jersey, it's more about impairment and permanency. Once their doctor determines, hey, we've gotten them to what this is medical maximum improvement is the term, they set a certain percentage and they say this is what you get for your claim. The attorneys try to negotiate that amount and then that's what it is. In Pennsylvania, not only can you continue to get that check, but at the end you can settle your claim for a lump sum. Okay? Typically, if you're back to work quickly, we push the Jersey side. Because even if you go back to work, you can get some money for your impairment, right? If you're gonna be out for a while, we push you to the Pennsylvania side because that's where you will be protected for the longest period of time. You have the best benefits on that side because you have a doctor who kind of is in your camp at that point and not forcing anything. So that's where we kind of draw a line. If there's a major injury and you're gonna be out a long time, PA. If it's a major injury but you get better, like a shoulder surgery, and then you're back full duty, that's gonna be Jersey because then you can get impairment for that, okay? So those are the 2 big differences, and again, you have, most of the time, you have the choice of which way to go. They're always gonna push you to Jersey. At least that's what I've seen. They always try to get you under Jersey law. Because again, they can control the medical, they can be done with the claim quicker, they don't need to kind of, there's not a lot of negotiating that goes on, or legal stuff. It's just more of a cookie cutter type process in New Jersey, okay? The other benefits that apply to you guys are what we call disfigurement benefits. In Pennsylvania, you can get them in both states. A little more limited in Pennsylvania than Jersey, but there's a new law coming up that might open that up completely. In Pennsylvania, if you have a mark from your collarbone up, discoloration, a scar, a bruising, swelling that won't go away, a chipped tooth, something like that, you can get extra benefits even if you're back to work, right? In Pennsylvania, it's typical the minute you start having your wages again, the wage loss stops, right? Because you don't have a wage loss anymore. This supersedes that. You could be back at work and we can bring a claim for that. You have to wait 6 months from when the cut happens or the scar or any disfigurement. And then under the law, it's deemed permanent. You don't even have to go to a doctor. We take some pictures, we file the claim. I call it free money, and that's what it is. They're never ever gonna tell you that you're entitled to that. Never.
Yeah, this is the first I'm hearing of that, and I have scars over my shoulder.
Yep.
I've never heard that.
Right, so they will never ever tell you, right? What you have here through your organization is you have power because you have information. You don't be vulnerable to the insurance company and DRPA. no matter how nice they are at the beginning, no matter how great you think the claim is going, remember, they're not in the business of keeping you out of work. They're not in the business of paying claims. They're in the business of getting you back to work as soon as they can, whether you feel you can or can't, and don't ever feel rushed. That never works out. I can't predict anything like you guys can in the world. The one thing I can predict in doing this 30 years is that someone who goes back to work before they're physically able to, in their own mind, never turns out well. They either get hurt worse and then they're really unemployable, or they can't really do their job as best to their ability and the supervisors start writing them up, right? And say it's not because of the work injury, because you were cleared to come back, it's because you're just not into your job now, right? So it never works. Disfigurement in New Jersey you can get also, and it's a little more broad because you can get it for your hands, your neck, your head, your face, but it extends a little bit more because in PA, again, it has to be above the collarbone. So believe it or not, right, the shoulder, we make the claim that it is. Sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. But that's the other benefit that is out there, no matter what. You guys, you know, get these, are in altercations, you guys are, you know, hit, you know, without knowing it, and you get a cut on your chin, you go to, you know, the hospital, and then it's done, and the people say, ah, we're done, everything's good, you're back on. That's when you guys gotta call me, right? And then we just track it. And if there's something that we can bring, we bring it. If we can't, we can't.
So for New Jersey, shoulders aren't out, or?
Shoulders, I think, are in New Jersey. So what we do, I really, frankly, know PA, right? That's what I handle for the firm. We have a joint venture with Jersey attorneys that are before the judges all the time here and stuff, so I work with them. So any question that we have, we get you access to. Also, if there's ever a claim, there's never a fee unless we have to go to court and get you something, but because of your relationship with our firm, we reduce our fees. Okay, so you're not paying what the normal person pays on the street.
And is there like a time frame from that, like?
For which?
For
the disfigurement. Yeah, so you typically have 3 years to bring a claim.
From the last time you opened up your.
Right.
Okay.
For you, because it's that reopener in PA, in Jersey, right? Yeah, that reopener law. Yeah. But, you know, you should still look into it, because there might be an exception that, you know, stops the time from going or stuff like that. I literally, a lot of times, and I don't want to just sound like I'm just being smart ass with everyone, but literally just call me, right? If you have a question, or a coworker, or a family friend, or a family member, just call me. They have my cell, you get me, you're not getting a paralegal, you're not getting an associate, we're not billboard lawyers, right? I'm literally going to answer your call within 24 hours. A couple people have used our services, and I would think that they would tend to agree with that we're here to help you, and we're here to give you the information. Right now, as we're sitting here, it might not be relevant, right? And hopefully it never is. But more probable than not, you're gonna know, or hopefully it's not you, but someone's gonna get banged up, because that's the nature of your job, right? Also, you guys, if you're ever in a car accident, you have a claim on top of workers' comp, right? In workers' comp, you can't get pain and suffering, right? You can only get those benefits that I talked about. So if your injury is caused by yourself, which is fine, because in both sides it's a no-fault state, meaning fault doesn't come into play, you just have to show an incident and you were injured. But if you can show that a third party caused your injury, you can bring an outside claim, just like if you were not working and driving to the supermarket and were rear-ended. You can bring that claim on top of the workers' comp claim, right? So if you guys are hurt in a car accident, on the bridge, anywhere working, right? And it's someone else's fault, even if it's not preventing you from working, you have a claim. Okay, and we can help you get that claim started. all right?
You're talking about a claim against the Port Authority, right?
No. Claim, let's say, I got, Joe Smith, you're driving on the, somewhere in your patrol car, and Joe Smith, just pedestrian, happens to rear end you. You can go against Joe Smith.
I did that, or we did that,
Yep.
and then the Port Authority was capped at 35,000.
Well, I'm not sure where the Port Authority got into play, right? Because you
Vanderveen
can't,
got them involved.
what's that?
Mike Vanderveen got them involved, and went
Yeah.
after their insurance.
Okay. Well, that might have been that they only had a certain level of uninsured or underinsured. That I don't know. I can say this, that you're not getting a liability payment from DRPA because they're your employer, right? So it had to be through something else in that car accident, but that's exactly right, like Mike Vanderveen, like that's who, one of the people that we get to. But if you're ever involved in that sort of thing, or even if you're at a residence or a commercial establishment and you're doing an investigation, you slip and fall or something causes you an injury, you might have another claim for that also. So that being said, it's a lot. Both sides are different laws because every state is different workers' comp laws. There's nothing uniform. And we are here to help you guys and whatever you need. So I'm happy to take questions. You can text me, you can email me, you can call me. But that's the condensed version. Yep.
Do you, I'm sure you know what, our rights are in regards to when you get injured and you get sent to the hospital. Why, they automatically say, you're not allowed to get an MRI, you're not allowed to get a CAT scan. Right away, they just do an x-ray, depending on the injury, and they make you go to Concentra or whatever the next day. Is there a reason behind, besides money?
That's it.
It's just, is there a way to fight that and say,
In Jersey, you really can't.
Okay.
In Pennsylvania, you gotta ride out the 90 days.
Okay, so you
Right,
can't even.
or unless your claim is denied in Pennsylvania.
Mhm.
If your claim is denied, then it supersedes the 90 days and you're allowed to treat with anyone you want. So if they deny it a week into
Right.
the claim, you can go anywhere you want. But also know Concentra is owned by an insurance company,
Mhm.
right? So they're not there to keep you out. They're there to kind of ignore you for the first 90 days.
Yeah,
And
even if you say it's hurting worse after
Yeah.
all this PT, it's not helping, it's not doing anything.
yeah. But again, right? But again, there's options and rights. I would say, hey, look, you guys all have health insurance. Go through health
Go to
insurance.
your
It's a
own.
co-payment,
Right, that's what I.
right?
Yeah.
So, and then let's try to get the co-payment paid back, right? So there's ways around things that, and we also have access to certain doctors that'll do us a favor and say, hey, I have someone, I just need a quick consult. Let me know if there's anything the company doctors are missing. And they're great, right? So there are ways around it. Harder in Jersey, easier in PA.
So you
Right.
can go right away and just be like, I'm going to my own doctor.
If
There's a
you
lot
pay
of-
for it under your
Yeah.
own, you can't expect comp to pay
Right.
for it,
But
right?
it just seems like they,
They won't accept your doctor's opinion,
yeah. So
Right.
then what happens?
right? Then you have to decide where we are in the claim,
Uh-huh.
right? If you're after a certain period or something, then you go over your options. I also talk reality when I talk to you guys. I can tell you right now, DRPA probably doesn't have what they need to keep you on the first 90 days. Maybe they've changed it, maybe they haven't. But reality is, if you don't go to their doctors first, they're gonna deny your claim. And then you're gonna be out of work with no money. So if you go to their doctor the first couple times and that at least gets you paid and start on the claim, then we'll pick it up down the road when it's easier when you get a check coming in. A lot harder when there's no check coming in, right? When a check's coming in, things can be a little bit better. If a doctor says you need surgery, you're entitled to a second opinion, right? But again, there are ways around it. The problem's going to be that doctors and medical providers, when they hear that, hey, I was hurt at work, I can't help you, I can't see you, I won't get paid. And then you just have to say, put it through my health insurance, right? But eventually you can push the provider by making enough noise to get you that MRI, but no one's gonna give you an MRI typically if you're going through Concentra first. If you go through the emergency room in a trauma, yeah, well, they're gonna just treat you how they have to treat you, right? I always tell people, don't let them say, hey, you can't go to the hospital, you gotta go to Concentra. If you need to get medical treatment, go to the hospital.
Well, that's what I'm saying, like, they've sent us people to the hospital, and then right away, they're like, you're not allowed to get an MRI.
Right, but that's different than being evaluated first, right? At least you're getting the treatment, and then if the emergency room recommends an MRI, then you have more power to demand an MRI. You see, right? And listen, they're gonna deny everything they can just to hope that you guys say, you know, F this is too annoying, I'm not doing it, I can't survive on comp payments anyway, I'm just gonna go back and hope for the best. That's what they're hoping, right? They're hoping that they hear from you and hear a baby in the background, and then they can deny your claim because they know they can financially starve you back to work. And to God, it's happened. A guy called me and said, listen, my union told me to call you, but I don't need you, because the adjuster told me she's gonna pick up the claim. I said, oh, tell me about your conversation. No, I talked to the adjuster heard my baby crying, and she said, oh, who's that? I said, my wife just had a baby, so both of us are out of work now. Oh, okay, well, we'll get your claim started immediately. Next day, you got a denial. And that is a true story, true.
Do they know that we have like 6 months of IOD, like they know that? So that makes a lot of sense, because when I got hurt, they pushed everything back. Oh, you gotta do PT, and then I didn't get, so 3 months into being injured is when I finally got surgery, and then I rushed to come back. I was already back to work by December for having my shoulder done, because I didn't want to go on short-term disability, so I rushed to come back. 3 years later, I had the same shoulder surgery because of our fact that we were talking about earlier.
And on the PA side, you can get comps, short-term disability, long-term disability, all at the same time.
And that is a nightmare.
Right. In
Absolutely.
PA, it's easier than Jersey. But,
Yeah,
you know, Jersey, I grew up here and from here, but if I'm gonna get hurt, I'm getting hurt on the other side. Right, hopefully no one gets hurt. Yes.
If there's a third party claim again,
Sure.
so, my example is I was T-boned, maybe not a stop sign, T-boned me, so.
In that case, you would have a claim against that woman's insurance company.
Is there a time frame on that?
You have 2 years from the
In
accident.
what state?
It both is a 2-year statute in Jersey and PA. You have 2 years from it. And again, you know, there's all different insurances involved. You have the other person T-bones you insurance. Again, based on what he said, I don't know what coverage the RPA puts on their own cars for excess, or if the other person is uninsured. But yes, you have, if that other person was negligent or at fault, you have a claim to go after them, sure. You know, if you got treatment and all that stuff, you absolutely have a right to bring a claim. So, it's all about, is someone else other than yourself, a coworker, or your employer responsible for your incident, for your injury, right? That's the bright line test for it, right? If I'm going up steps and I just trip because I trip, I still have a comp case even though I caused my own injury, but I couldn't sue this place, right? If I was coming up and there was a hole in the carpet and they knew about it and I tripped and hurt myself, I might be able to, because it's not a coworker or anything like that. A lot of times, and I don't know, do you guys park in a certain parking lot all the time, right? You guys have to go into like at work, right? Do they bring in outside help to salt and remove, or is that a DRPA employee?
DRPA.
So that's how they kind of also limit liability, because let's say you pull in, you're ready to go to work, nothing was salted or something and you fall, they're gonna say it was a co-employee who was responsible for moving it. Whereas if they brought in Joe's Landscaping as a removal service, you could go after Joe's Landscaping, right? So that's how they, and it's not just the RPA. The PGW does it, the school district does it. Most of the unions that I deal with, their employers all do that so that they limit things. Which to me, I'm not sure, because frankly, if you have a third-party case and your workers' comp company paid you anything, they have a right to be repaid from that third-party case on top of what you get. So they're getting their money back. It's just, I guess they limit everything. You know.
Are you allowed to, if you have an issue at an office, can you leave, like say, I'm uncomfortable here and go to another
And
office?
ask for a different provider, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, that you can do, and that happens a lot. Yep.
Okay.
In Jersey too.
Yeah, both sides, yep. And they'll just send you to a different Concentra,
Right.
right? They'll just say, go to the one up the street, right?
Can you
Or-
start making your own appointment, because it got to the point where I made my own appointments, can I just make my own appointment at a different one, or I have to?
You have to get, in Jersey, you gotta get their approval, right? That's why if we can bring it in PA, right, because you wouldn't have been forced back to work as quickly as you were on the PA side. You would have had a doctor after 90 days that was supporting you and saying, all right, if you're not ready, we're gonna hold off. But if you're ready, then we'll try it, you know, so that's another benefit that you wanna come into PA. But yes, if you're unhappy, and again, it happens all the time, because the people at Concentra aren't always so nice.
And
I mean, I don't know who they think they are, but, I mean, you know, if they were hurt, they wouldn't wanna be treated that way.
some of them are anti-cop.
Uh-huh.
Uh, They're anti-hurt, that's what they
Well,
are.
they've literally said, I don't want.
Well, and if they say that to you, then that's something that you should then get out of that provider, right? You call me and we try to, listen, we can create as much havoc for the insurance company as we want to, right? I mean, that's how we get them to stand up at attention, is that we're not gonna let them slide on little things anymore. And then they know they can't, and then that opens up more options and easier things for the future, right? So it's all about you guys in numbers, I'm telling you, right? I know young guys, young girls, they don't think it applies to me, I don't need it, I don't wanna hear about it, blah, 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 I'm not ever gonna get hurt. Those are all the people you need to keep coming up with numbers so that you are a one group when it comes to DRPA's insurance. They know they're not gonna get anything with them. Right. Which could, like, you go, well, then you file a claim.
Yeah, like European claims.
Yeah, we filed a claim. You know, we had a sheriff in Delaware County that, they actually brought up on criminal charges because he was on a boat at his wife's camp and they thought he was working. And they had it in for him. Like, when I say in for him, like, holy moly. And we fought them tooth and nail and we got him out of it all. Right? Yeah, we're just kidding. Look, they're gonna do what they wanna do. It's just the nature of the reality of an insurance company. There's rights and obligations and duties that they have to follow though. And that's for us to make sure they do. Right? Because you do have rights and you do have options. You guys have a little bit more so because of Jersey and PA. But at the same time, I know you have a really good job and I know you want to get back to work 9 out of 10 times quickly. Whereas, you know, the people at some of the other people we represent don't want to go back to their job. And this is a way out of it. So whatever, again, I know I keep saying it, but literally whatever questions you have, whatever information you need, please feel comfortable in contacting me. And we will work through it and get you to the best position you have to be at. So, yep.
Yeah, but where the injury actually occurs, like, as far as the Jersey PA, does it matter if that doesn't matter? And as far as what state you want to pursue your claim?
Yeah, it matters where it happens if you want it in PA. Right, for us to bring it in PA, it has to happen in PA. Right, there's that imaginary line on the bridge, right? And the minute, like if you're straddling it, we can go PA.
I have a question about that, because I was injured at canine training, broken leg. It drove, in PA, it drove me to Cuba.
Yeah, that's a PA claim. Yeah, that was a PA claim. You know, and then you could have treated, you know, but, yeah.
So what happens when that happens? Like, you know,
Well, you gotta get emergency care the best you can, right? I mean, you could have sat there and if you were with your wherewithal to say, hey, this is a Pennsylvania conclave, I wanna see a Pennsylvania doctor, I don't wanna go to Cooper. Yeah, you could have went to Einstein or Temple, right? But the problem is they tell you and you think it's gospel, because you don't know any better.
Yeah,
But this is what I tell people in workers' comp, and I hope I'm not insulting anyone, because I really don't mean to be. But dealing with an insurance agent in workers' comp is like you playing poker, not knowing the rules, and asking the guy next to you what to bet and how to play, right? Two pick, right? That's where you are. You don't know the workers' comp system, so whatever this adjuster, who frankly is usually lazy and just looking at a computer and maybe gets back to you on time or doesn't, that's what you're dealing with. Now remember also, repetitive injuries. You don't need to have like I banged my hand or I twisted my knee. You guys are always firing and doing that. If you get carpal tunnel from repetitive injuries, that's a work injury. Every day you work, that's a new injury. So your notice keeps going further. You're that 120, 90 days, right? So repetitive injuries, every day you work is a new injury date. So carpal tunnel, easiest thing. It comes, you still work through it, right? It gets worse, you're still working through it. Doctor says you need surgery. You can tell work that day, I found out I need surgery, they say it's work related, and you're within notice, because it actually starts that day, right? If I put this and slam my foot, notice time period starts running. That 90 days, that 120. Repetitive injuries doesn't start running until you stop working. Okay?
What was it called again, you said, for the
Disfigurement. But just honestly text me and just say, hey, you're a PA, I had
I mean,
disfigurement.
I know I'm pissed, like I know it,
You
but
know.
I've never heard this until right now.
Yeah.
Wait, do you have cards?
Yeah, so I did not bring cards, believe it or not, but I can give you my cell phone if you want it.
I'll make sure to email it out to everybody.
Okay, but my cell phone is 484-368-7857, and you should just put me in as comp lawyer. I found that that's the best way to search. If anyone's like me, I don't remember, so put it in as comp lawyer, but they have all my information, and literally you can text me at any time, weekends, nights. I'm an empty nester, so I look for things to do, so.
I just have one more question. If you're going to Concentra and the doctor says that they feel like you're cleared to go back to work, and you don't feel like you are, how does that work?
It depends on the circumstances.
Okay.
So I'm going to use a lawyer term and say, we'll discuss it when it happens.
Okay.
Because it literally, it's timing, it's where you are in your claim, it's what type of treatment you've had already. Frankly, it's what you want to do, right? So there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, other than just saying, hey, you either try it and then come back out, which I tend to like when my clients do that, because I think if you're ever in front of a judge, it's a lot better credibility-wise. First of all, you guys never have any problems in front of a judge. I mean, you show up in your uniforms and there's never a problem. But it looks much more credible when someone can say, hey, I didn't agree with it, but I tried it because I wanted to make sure that I was right, and then I came back out. Instead of saying, I didn't think I could do it, so I didn't even try.
Okay, so what happens if you get cleared by the Concentra doctor and you go to somebody else on your own and they say you should have never been cleared?
Then we're gonna have to probably bring a claim for you.
Okay, so I should tell the person I'm talking about to do that?
Yeah, tell them to call us. Yeah. Hey, I got a great person for you to ask questions tomorrow.
Well, because she went to a chiropractor, and I know workman's comp doesn't agree with chiropractors.
Not always. And
But like her back is totally jacked up and
Yep.
she should have never been cleared to come
Yeah.
back. And the doctor cleared her like after 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I can't say that I'm surprised.
Right, okay.
Right, I can't say.
I'll tell her to call you.
Have a call.
Yeah, and in fact, it's funny because
Yeah, this is at Broadway.
in PA, you know, I talked about that 90 days, it's based on a list. They have to give you, one of the boxes they have is they give you a list of 6 providers. But if they don't have a chiropractor on that list, you can go to any chiropractor you want.
Okay.
So it's a way in Pennsylvania to get off that list, because typically they don't include a chiropractor, but they can.
So if we have a job, if someone
You
gets
sent it
injured
to her?
or something, they can still call
Okay,
you.
she just said, can you get her
Yep.
number?
It depends which level and stuff, but usually I think I saw his billboard, that guy Josh Cohen. Yeah, so I usually, you know, he's pretty, yeah, he's tapped in here, so I've been dealing with him a lot. And then he'll usually, if I send you guys to him, he'll give a discount of the rate also. So, but we got literally, I'm telling you, any injury at all, and I'm not just trying to be a pig about it, any injury at all, you call me, I will get you to the top people that you need to get to. Including doctors, like these aren't doctors like car accident doctors. These are guys like, and girls that I've seen, or my family, or coworkers, or friends, like these are people that have really, I have great confidence in that you're getting good treatment, and not just here, sit down, put this on your back, and thanks, right? That does no one good. So surgeons that we use, in fact, in PA, I usually use a couple Jersey surgeons when it's an arm or shoulder, because they're better over here.
Well, the first time I was in Jersey, the second time.
Who did your shoulder?
Rockton, same guy twice, and I can't remember his name.
Lazarus?
No,
Gets.
no. What is his name? Mike
Usually it's
D.
him or
Charlie Getz.
Demar?
I think that's.
Yeah. Well, look, Rothman is Rothman, right? They're
I mean, the
big.
guy was great.
Yeah, big conglomerate now, you know, but there's great surgeons out there, and we have access to them, so whatever you guys need.
Yeah, no, he was great.
Okay?
Now, is it normal, so if I went for the same thing twice, is it normal, like, to go in front of a judge one time and not the second time, or vice versa?
No, pretty much, if you had another surgery that second time, I would have thought, that people, touch base with us tomorrow.
Yeah, because I
Right.
went the first time, not the second.
Yeah,
time.
I want someone to look at your situation.
Yeah, I don't wanna like, anyone spot from your department, or your place.
What do you
so,
mean?
Like, I feel like it was better the first time with who I had. than
Okay,
the second
got it,
time.
okay. Yeah, well, you'll let me know, okay, yeah, you'll let me know. Yeah, but we're happy to look at
Yeah.
it. So, thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.